delicious cakes and are feeling energized and have gathered up some questions for our panelists today. As Lewis introduced me earlier, I'm Ashley McLennan. I'm from ICLEI, which is a network of local governments for sustainability. We have been working with public procurers for over 25 years, and we're also a partner in the Procure to Innovate project. And our interest in innovation procurement is what it can achieve. Obviously, there's environmental problems, there's societal problems, and we really like to focus on the fact that innovation procurement is a tool. It's a means to achieve something bigger, and it's a way to involve our procurement departments in the strategic objectives of our cities and of our governments. So I've already learned a lot this morning from what's going on in the iBuy project, and I'm really grateful to Lewis and all the organisations that have come together today to help us have this chance to exchange and share. I think the panel now, we have a chance to go into some more detail, to draw some comparison between the different countries and the different types of organisations that we have up here, and to also answer your questions. And I want to just remind everyone of the challenge set this morning by Mr. Manaldo from ANI, that we're here to find good ideas for promoting innovation procurement. So that's really our task for everyone today. So before I open out to the audience for questions, I just want to kind of break the ice a little bit, kind of get us all on the same ground by asking, what is the real situation in your countries? What's the reality? When you go to a procurer and say, we're going to do an innovation procurement, what's the reaction? Is it excitement, nervousness? Maybe we can start with you, Hannu.
Yeah, sure. I think in Finland, most organizations are still interested in trying. Some have tried, and I think it's a good method that it does work. Most of them are still kind of nervous. They don't know them exactly how to do it, or what should they think, or what competencies they need. So they still need help. They need practical help, someone to help them in the everyday work, how to do it.
So a little bit of hand-holding perhaps then, but generally some enthusiasm there.
Yes, I think the early adapters are all definitely have like taking this method into use, but then there are many who are still holding for the first concrete results that I think will usually come in about a year or two after the procurement has started.
And what about further down the table? How is in Latvia?
There are more risks, so we are not very excited to do such procurement. So
a little bit different. It's still maybe at an earlier stage, not sure what it actually means and whether they can take on those risks. Andres.
So in Lithuania we have different approach, I think, because we would like to buy a lot of innovative things, but sometimes we have an idea but do not know how to buy the final product when we do not have a detailed requirements. So we need to somehow think about ways to buy it, and we start looking to innovative procurement. Public procurement for innovation. So there are different approaches, different types of such a procurements, and we are investigating this, and I think the support from government is huge. Ministry of Economy and Innovation, they are also very active in this field, and they are promoting the innovative procurements, and we have a Lithuanian Innovation Agency, so they also has their products. So I think it's a supportive approach from a government on innovative procurements.
Concerning my region in central Greece, I think that it makes its first steps towards this new situation. The project that I made the presentation for is the first concerning this sector. In the region, yes, we think that we try to make it easiest in order to be understandable from the most of the public servants, because we have a lot of problems concerning this. I think that in a national level, my colleague from the General Secretariat of Commerce and Consumer Protection, Mr. Janetopoulos, will be able to give you more information about this.
And Beatrice,
well, in Spain, I would say that there is two different realities. I mean, in Spain, we have we have very successful and interesting innovation procurement initiatives at regional level, mainly in Galicia, Catalonia, and Andalusia, and these are really successful and interesting cases. But as we have a decentralized purchase system, there are more than 800 authorities in Spain with that purchase. So we still have to improve the training and promotion and training. I mean, in Spain, is the key.
So I think it's safe to say that no matter where in Europe you are, we're still at our first steps, as you said. And it might be two different realities, or it might be a spectrum from people who are excited and see the potential to people who need a little bit of persuasion. And that probably exists between countries and also within countries. And I'm sure a lot of you recognize that as well. I just want to open it up and see if we have any questions from the audience based on the presentations today, or from, yeah, Louis. I think we have some microphones coming around.
Well, thank you, Ashley, for opening our discussion. Actually, a question to Beatrice, because this is an initiative that we learned from. It's very, very recent, and I was since the beginning very curious. And still is. One of my questions is, do this collaboration agreement of this initiative, because it's a key element in the include or can include, or it's expected to include groups of buyers. This is, or this agreement is established between CTTI and one only procurer. And a next question regarding this is, afterwards, this it will be at the end a PCP. So it's expected that at the end of the process there will be a tested, a validated prototype. My question is, how do you envisage the adoption phase of this prototype after this prototype is ready to and proved and tested? Afterwards, if it is an hospital, the hospital wants to adopt this solution. What is planned for this next step in Spain after this initiative? Thank you.
Thank you, Luz. You make me such good questions. For the first question, the collaboration agreement is signed between CDTI and a public administration user, but not procurer, user. And this collaboration agreement is only between these two institutions and regulates the aspect of this initiative. And for the second question, after the prototype is developed, we will assign this prototype to the administration, to the user, and they will be responsible for the validation of this prototype. And after the validation, I mean, this prototype can be used, for example, in training activities, and but cannot be used in the normal, in the commercial activity of the institution, because it is not a TRL 9, it is not a TRL 8. It has to have more homologation and standardization activities that are not developed within the initiative. And in the future, we expect this administration, this public administration, to launch a PPI tender in order to incorporate these new technologies in a deployment phase. Have I answered your questions?
Thank you, Peter.
No, you answered my question, yes. So it's, it will be a next procedure after the hospital
After the testing phase,
if they are
and
happy
if they are
enough
happy
with,
and the prototype is fulfilling their expectations.
Okay. Of course, there will be other questions, but I want.
Yes, we have a question.
Hello. I would have a question. I have a question to Andreas Adamonis on the blockchain sandboxes you mentioned. How are they set up? Could you elaborate a bit about them, how they are set up? What's the final outcome of these sandbox processes is, and what's the largest advantages of this type of processes in your experience?
Thank you. So the value for fintech, maybe I will start from this, to use this is faster and less expenses, go from idea to prototype. So basically we as a Bank of Lithuania we will cover the regulatory and legal part, so including how to keep data, so GDPR requirements, including the which license to use for the activity, and we also will be hiring technological consultation from one of the technology providers, which will be selected as the best after the third phase. So this is basically the value for fintech companies, to save some money and faster go to the product from this idea. And then now we are finished the second phase in the beginning of September. On November we will start the second phase, because in each phase we are having our target audience, our clients, the fintech testing the platform service. So during the second phase we got 6 fintechs, 6 different products, two fintechs to each supplier. They tested, left their feedback for us. We take that feedback, changed a little bit requirements for the third phase, and now we are selecting the companies which will be testing the limited volume product. And after that, as a Bank of Lithuania, we will select the best suit for us, and then we will launch the production service after pre-commercial procurement for innovation, PPI. So
you have set it up as a pre-commercial procurement or as a innovation partnership?
No, it's a pre-commercial procurement, and we are funded by European structural funds through our national business supporting agency. So we got all the steps of pre-commercial procurement, and then in the end of pre-commercial procurement, as Beatrice mentioned, you cannot use the prototype in a production level, so you must do a PPI for procuring production level product.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, please, in the middle.
Hello, my name is Totos from Greece. I have a question regarding the procurement of electric buses for the city of? Ventspils. This one, okay. I would like to have your view. As far as I understand, you have got 35 buses which cover the needs of the city. So suppose that you change all the buses in the city. Why the private companies were interested in, let's say, investing in making 35 prototypes, which are their incentives for participating, and have you calculated the cost for the city? For example, but if a bus is too expensive, you'll end up paying something innovative, yes, but very, very expensive, depending on what you could buy to serve your needs better. Thank you.
We are changing 14 buses, and for the prototype we didn't spend any money, so Aris made a pre-commercial consultation, so came to the company and said you will try to build a prototype as we need, so we can possibly buy them later within procurement, so we didn't pay any cent for the prototype, and yeah, and the 14 buses, so amount of the project, 4.5 million euro for the project, so
4.5 millions for
14 buses.
14 buses.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Even though the question wasn't exactly for me, you asked about the why would company want to invest in something like this. That is, there's always for like small companies who try to launch a new product, it's very, very hard and difficult to find the first customers. Finding the first customer can be as much work as finding the 10 next ones. So it's invaluable to find the first customer who is also like they are willing to work together to develop the product, help them test it, give an actual place where to try, where real users will use it, and that can be worth much more than any price. That can be worth like more than the 4 million for the company. That is how you get companies to involve and why they want to be involved in this kind of procurements.
Yeah, if I could follow up with another question. I mean, it's clear everyone here sounds like they've been involved in some PCP, and that obviously requires skills from the procurement side, but it also needs close cooperation with the companies themselves. And do the companies, especially small companies, have the skills to participate in such a demanding tender? Does anyone want to volunteer to answer that, or I'll pick one of you?
I can start. So when we started our commercial procurement, we started with market consultation, so request for interest. It was very hard to explain companies what we are doing and what is the process, because they are not very familiar with such a type of applying to commercial procurement. And during the request for interest, we got various different calculations. So our budget is 800,000 euros, a little bit more. But we got some requests for interest from 100,000 euros to 2 million. So it was very, very broad. So how we attracted the companies? So basically we were going to conferences, we were explaining them, meeting person to person and asking if they understand, if they see the value, because in the commercial procurement company must invest their own resources, their own money, and then more than we are paying for them. So it was hard work, but now more and more commercial procurements are coming, and then companies know how to do them, how to apply for them, and I think it will be much more easier.
Yes, in our process and in my experience, no, the small companies are not they don't have the skills to make a good offer. So that will put you in a problem that someone who might win, who doesn't have the best solution, but is best in writing the offer. And that is why I recommend you that you have at least 2, maybe even more offer rounds, so this small company can kind of practice with you. So they give the first preliminary offer, and then you can kind of give them advice on which parts that they have described well and what have they done. So as a third neutral party in the procurements that I do, I'm the person who gives this advice to the smaller companies and makes the kind of the playing field more level. So each has the same skills in the end, and the third offer will be for the newcomers in this area will be as good as the ones who have done it several times.
Thank you for that. And Emanuela, you said yourself that you're representing a more supply side. Is there any support that you can think of that really helps the companies engage with the procurement process, especially when it's innovation procurement?
As I gave you an example during my presentation, indeed, our small and medium-sized enterprise do not have the required resources for such type of project, but they are quite innovative and they can find solution. There are more ways to obtain something than, I don't know, a regular one. So, for example, one of them developed those or launched those ICO, initial coin offering, to obtain funding, crowdfunding, and then to implement the product within the intelligence agency. Another example, another company, a small company, attracted funding from venture capitals and started developing together with 3 municipalities the solution with, I don't know, with a promise that in time they could scale up such type of products, services, and then gain more money. It's a payoffs in all this, of course. And another example with a 3 museum in Bucharest that were in search for, I don't know, some hologram, some virtual and or augmented reality solution. And the company, the small company, was able to attract students from university to start developing the product, the solution. And then with support from museum, with, I don't know, a co-financing from the museum to deliver it. I believe there could be solution, but indeed, we need an entire process in place. We need to benefit of a structural procedure or solution in order to have many more involved in such type of IPP projects.
Thank you, yes. So I think it's important then that when we're thinking of solutions to encourage more innovation procurement, that we're also thinking about all the actors that are involved in that process. I'm just looking to see if we have any questions. Oh.
Here.
Oh,
hello.
Sorry, didn't see you there. Hi.
I'm Amadeo Guimarães from Portugal. My question is to Beatriz. Just to make sure that I got it right, your organization doesn't work like a competence center that helps procurers to do innovative procurement. Your organization sets agreements with user institutions, and you do all the procurement for them. Is this right? And I would like to know if you do this all over Spain.
Thanks for your question. Well, I work in an innovation business financing agency. We normally work with Spanish companies, and we have created recently this Office for Innovation Procurement, and we have several services. I will talk about CDTI and the Spanish Competence Center in the afternoon session. We have several services that includes training, innovation procurement advice, innovation procurement representation in several events. And we have another instrument which is called InnoDemanda that helps companies that want to attend to an innovation procurement tender. But we have recently created this new instrument, and in this new instrument we work, as you mentioned, CDTI procures, but CDTI will not use this prototype that will be developed. We will assign the prototype to a Spanish national, regional, or local administration that has the need.
Okay, but do you manage all the procurement process? Do you manage it?
Yes, we do. Yes, in collaboration, as I mentioned in my presentation, with the user, with the end user, with the Spanish end user.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we have another question here.
Thank you. Or questions. So where to start? First of all, I'm David. I'm from Portugal. I am a lawyer. I work with public procurement from several years now. So I have been through the previous European Directive on Public Procurement. We now have a new one since 2014. I have listened to your presentations very attentively, and I would like to thank you for them because it's very important, and also to Ani to support such events. It's very important for us to share these experiences about innovation in public procurement. This is the first event in Portugal about innovative public procurement. We of course have innovation being discussed in other forums, but not specifically related to the public market and to the public end users. So it's very important to have you here explaining your experiences. I have many questions, and others are not questions, so I have made a full list. I will try to be very concise with them so that we don't lose too much time in waffling about them. And they are for Anu, the first one, which is, given that you have actually performed innovation partnership, I'm talking about the actual legal procedure that is established in the directives, and I suppose in the Finnish national law you must have a procedure called like that, as we do here. The one that in the first session was said that we have one, it's ongoing, so it's not ended yet, it's ongoing. It's not clear if it will lead to a good result or a bad one, but it is ongoing. What I would like to know about the ones that you have experienced is whether the innovation partnership was established with just one partner or with more, because that's basically what differentiates the innovation partnership from, say, the competitive dialogue. That's one of the main aspects of that procedure. It's the possibility to have several private companies doing innovation and development and investigating to reach a result. So the question is, if in any of those you had such scenario with various companies within the same innovation partnership trying to reach a goal according to obviously the design, the contract design that coming from the public entity, their goals, what they want to achieve, and if yes, what happens if more than one reaches the goal? What do you do then? Because the innovation came to a good result. What are you going to buy then? Which product, which service? How do you choose which one to actually produce? Ashley, should I do all the questions or wait for the answer?
I think there's some meat to that question, so let's answer that one first and
Okay.
we'll come back to you.
Thanks.
Well, to give you exact numbers, the six innovation partnerships I have been involved in 4 of them, they have chosen just one partner. In one, they chose 2 partners. I would call those solutions complementary. So they are not competing with each other. They can both improve on the chosen subject. And then there's one where there was chosen 4 partners. In that one, it's quite a mix-up. There's one solution that possibly could show that the others are not needed at all. So they are competing, definitely. Then there are solutions that aim for like short-term improvement. This is actually the snow problem competition I talked about. So there's one that improves how to have a better handling already next winter. And then there's one that is more talking about, let's say, 20-year perspective that involves the whole city planning and where to, like, you need to do kind of a local melting station in each part of the city. Finding that's kind of good places. You need to take it in part in city planning, and that can take the 20 years. So.
Yes, that answers the question. So you haven't reached the case where 2 of them had reached the goal and you need to choose which one to actually produce?
No, we haven't been in that situation yet, but of course we have planned for that already. So we will actually compare the financial benefits. That's mostly.
But do you have it in the award criteria? Say
yes.
You have already the criterion to choose in such situation. Is that it in the tenders regulations?
Since they are already in the innovation partnership phase, this is not basically a procurement anymore. It's a contractual. So in the contract the companies have made, there is a clause that they can be terminated.
Yes, but not the clause about which solution you choose. Yeah. Because that should be in the tender regulations, or you create it afterwards, but not in the, I mean, of course the contract will say when you can end it.
There is no, I would say, for the contractual period, we haven't made, let's say, exact criteria, but there is information based on what the decision will be made. So it is how well it fulfills the need that was originally given, and then of course price and the financial and so on.
Okay, thanks. That's a good segue for my second question, which can be for anyone in the panel that has had this problem before. So one of the things that we find very challenging here in Portugal, because we do have a lot of public decision makers that want to innovate. So one of the problems that we find, or the biggest problems that they find, is that the legal frame is a little bit demanding, and so it becomes a risk. And when you have risks, you probably don't want them, and accordingly to the kind of entity that you are working with, you can or not take some risks. One of the specific aspects that I want to bring is how much money you are going to spend. This is a problem, I suppose, across Europe, but in Portugal, for sure, it's one of the things that you need to clearly establish when you start the procedure. You must say, how much will I pay as a maximum, as a cap? So when you start an innovation partnership or any service contract for innovation and development, where you don't actually know exactly where you are going to end and what you are going or not decide to buy, you cannot make a budget for that. So my question is, do you just make the budget for the investigation, for the research and development phases, or are you demanded, according to the local law, to actually say already how much are you willing to pay for the product itself if and when we get to that stage?
All right, thank you. So I'm very grounded in the practicalities of it here. Is anyone volunteering to answer the question? Yes, please.
So I can answer how we done this at the Bank of Lithuania. So I think if I will go to our decision makers and will say I need to have 100 million euros, so probably they will say no, it's too huge risk. But then we came with up to 1 million and it's 85% funded from European structural funds. So we say, okay, this is a good amount of money we need to invest for our growth of competence, and we experiment in a small scale. But regarding the procurement after pre-commercial procurement, so we always asked for suppliers in each phase results, provide approximate estimation how much it can cost for maintenance, for example, or to buy the service in PPI after pre-commercial procurement. So we always go up to our steering committees, and then say, look, the price changed because of this, of that. Look, the price is the same, and then they are keeping the money, but reserving the money in the budget. But the most important thing that this product created by or procured, bought by the PPI should be useful for the company and should must bring the value for the company itself. That company need to see potential to invest money, or it is in competence growth for PPI, it's competence growth in blockchain as in our use case, or it's attracting foreign direct investments to Lithuania. So the institution must see the value proposition of any project.
Yes, I understood that it's you have a cap, but it is flexible. You don't have to actually announce to the market that amount. You just have it as an internal information that you manage accordingly to what the procedure gives you, what the contracts give you, what the companies give you as a budget. But you don't need to announce previously how much it will be available for that project, which is the problem that we have here. You don't have to do it. That's what I understood, yeah, which is good.
Yeah, because we are a Bank of Lithuania. We are like public body, but we are operating by the other Bank of Lithuania Act. So we can invest money. We can have our own how to get some money from our sites, from our products. So it's much more easier for us, but for our institution. So I think they are the same meets the same problem as you are. So probably we can fill my answer.
You also have some experience.
Yeah, I would definitely say, like you described, that you need to make up a certain amount what you think it will cost. You multiply that with something like 5 and put that number in your back pocket somewhere, hide it, and then you give the first number, what you think you're willing to pay, you put that, you give that to the bidders, to the market. So the first number is like a hard cap set by the procurement law that you need to abide with, but you don't want to kind of encourage the market to bid for that price. So you want to give them a realistic price, but give you the chance, if you get something amazing, you have a possibility to actually buy it, even if it goes over the cap. So that's what I suggest for my customers, is to have this hidden number, and then what you wish for, that's public number then.
In Portugal, we have an expression. I'll try to make a free translation. It says, it goes by, you don't want to give the gold to the thief. So that's you don't want to give them such information about how much you are willing to pay, because they will meet, of course, the threshold. So I totally understand the system. So I do have one last question, not wanting to monopolize proceedings.
Unless anyone has any follow-up questions to what's been brought up there. Otherwise, yes. Oh, yeah, we have one, so maybe we can just follow up to that question. We can come back to you. Sure. Thank you. Kostas.
Thank you. Possibly a PCP could be made through a framework agreement where a contracting authority just indicates the amount they think. They're not obliged to spend the amount. They just have to indicate that we have this amount. It cannot be spent, or it will not be spent. Just an indication. So I think that the solution of a framework agreement through a PCP could be a solution to your answer concerning the amount for the contracting authority.
All right, yes, thank you, yeah. So let's have your third question, please.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for that clarification too. So I have a question for Rebecca, but it could probably, for Beatrice, sorry. I have a question for Beatrice. It will probably, if applicable to others, I would like to hear more opinions. So what I would like to know is what happens to IP rights of the innovations that you purchase within the agency. So you work for the public and user entities. That's why you exist, to create the hub, to create the ideas, to gather them from the market. You procure to buy the innovation and the research and development services, not the production itself, I understood, just the research. And then they are the ones that need to decide whether they want or not to buy the products or the service that comes from the innovation proceedings, is what I understood. They cannot use them, they cannot sell them, it's not theirs. They can use them for themselves, but they cannot commercialize it, as you said. So who cans? The private company?
Just a clarification, they cannot use the prototype for commercial activities. Also, it cannot be commercialized because it is not a commercialized product, it is a prototype.
Okay, it's a prototype, but what they will do with it, I suppose, is if they want to buy more, or if they want to actually produce the product itself that comes from the prototype, they will have to start a procurement of their own. Yes, but the idea and the IP rights are there. So how does this work?
Well, we have not defined the IP rights totally, because we want to wait until the preliminary market consultation in each technology. But in this moment, we have thought a general scheme that would be that the IP rights belong to the companies, and CDTI and the administration, the public, the end user, we will only have rights to use and validate these technologies, but the IP rights will belong to the companies.
So if you, for example, find a medical device that is disruptive and innovative, you have the prototype, and the hospital needs to procure to buy the production of the medical device. But it's that medical device, so he cannot procure. You must buy from that company because they are the owners of that medical device. Is it like that?
I haven't understood totally your question.
So you have the procedure. You ask for ideas, you receive the ideas, and one of those, for example, is a medical device. And then you have an agreement.
No. Maybe I have not made myself clear. We have received ideas from technologies that could solve a public need. We will launch preliminary market consultations about some technologies. We are now currently working in 7.
Can you give an example?
Well, I'm not allowed to talk about this because because it is not public at this moment. But for example, we could, for new methods in desalinization with less energetic consume. And we will receive information in the preliminary market consultation. We will receive information from different companies and from different market operators. And we will write our tenders, only taking, we will write the tenders, only making a functional description.
Yeah, but someone wins that tender.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will probably make this tender in 3 phases. So different companies will go to the first round, and then after that, less companies will go to the second round, and at the end, we can have 1, 2, or maybe 3 winners. And these winners with the prototype will be the ones that will be installed, that will be assigned to the public end user, and that will be validated.
And if it works, they can buy from them afterwards.
And if the public end user is satisfied with the technologies that we have assigned them, in the future, maybe they could do PPI tender to buy the commercial product. Our purpose is just to help technologies to reach TLL 7.
Yeah, but if it's just one technology that reaches the ends, so if it's just one prototype, then the public entity, if they want more, they will buy from them without need to make a tender, I suppose.
No.
I think we have Costas here in the audience as well.
Innovation and procurement, no, lawyers and innovation don't work well. Well, okay. The idea is that you want to make a PCP, so you end up with a prototype, okay, that will possibly cover the need of the contracting authority, okay. But then again, the contracting authority has to do a PPI to buy to actually buy the product. So it's a new tender. So the company who has participated with a prototype has an advantage.
Exactly.
Compared to other companies who will
be exactly, Costas. This company will be best prepared than others.
But you have got public procurement. You've got to make an open tender, open to everybody. Just the company will have an advantage compared to its other competitors. Yeah. So property rights, for the second question, very, very seldom go to the contracting authority because they I don't think 90% or 95%, they remain with the company because the idea is that you do it for the company to go commercial. So the company needs the property rights.
Yeah, sure. I think what you're missing there is that precisely one of the exceptions coming from the directives is that you can buy directly without a tender if it is needed to protect property rights. So what I'm trying to establish here, and thus the question, is that when you come to the end of the innovative procedure without the production being included, and the production is included in the innovative partnerships that Anu described us, but not in Beatrice's ones, when the production is not included, the end of the innovative procedure will give not only a competitive advantage to the one that reached the goal, but in the end, it can be a reason to not need to tender if you want to buy directly from him, because he's the only one that has such solution. So if you do have more than one prototype, then okay, you just give the public end user options. This one's work, you do your tender. Then I agree, you must do a tender, and it must be an open one, and it shouldn't be discriminatory. You should have technical requirements that are neutral. But if it's just one, then this is a case for direct award.
Sorry, we're running a bit short on time now, so I'm going to give Luis a chance to respond, and then Andreas a chance to respond, and then we're going to close the session, but I can see you're going to have a very interesting conversation over lunchtime, so.
No, I just want to thank you very much for all your questions and comments, but just to make a brief comment. I think you are starting from a wrong principle, which is that you think that after PCP, on that maturity, the hospital can use it. And so, and when you open a new tender, nobody knows if it's China or in Canada, there is a better solution. So, unless no, because you have to open it, so it can be something similar but with other property rights. So the company will, it's in principle in an advantage, but there is no rule that says that it will be them, because they have to open, and maybe the same invention, nobody knows if someone has developed something very similar or better, okay? if there is any other...
No, that's great. Thank you, Liz. And yeah, thank you for your questions. I mean, these are really important questions. These legal challenges are one of the biggest, even just perception barriers to doing innovation procurement. And it shows why innovation procurement requires special competencies. And this afternoon, we're going to come back and hear from the competence centres in innovation procurement who are there to support procurers who want to address these and do it in a legally sound way. So we've got 5 minutes before lunch, so I just wanted to kind of wrap up. It's your last opportunity for a question, if you have one. Otherwise, oh. No, there's someone behind you with a question.
Thank you. Yes, all right. I'm a consultant also on innovation procurement from a public perspective. And just, I think, 20 to 30 minutes ago, Ashley was wrapping up and saying, okay, so we are here to also think about solutions to stimulate innovation. And Anu was saying, okay, it's difficult for a company to find the first customer. It takes a lot of time. Is there any from the... Is there any experience or any very good best practice from one of you? So it's an open question. What you would like to share to us? So to say, okay, this is very good to make the gap between private and public closer, to make better communication between public and private. Oh yeah.
I would like to add something to his question and also ask the panel, within your experiences in structuring these IPP processes, also what is your experience in what are the main bottlenecks that you found in these processes? Is it legal? Is it the defining the specifications, technical specifications? Is it communicating with the potential providers? What are the 3 main bottlenecks that you found in this process?
Thank you. That's a very nice wrap-up question. Lewis, am I right that?
I think we are coming to a point that we would like to know if this is too complicated to procure and if it's a game for everybody, or if someone it's just part of the procurers or the user that can perform this. Because I think it's also something that we could learn from the panel.
So maybe if I could go to you first, Gregorius. You're working on a PCP project, so perhaps you've already got some lessons learned. You've worked with the market, you've brought them closer together. Would you like to kick the panel off?
Yes, I would like to reply. I would like to reply to your answer, but I'm part of the iBuy project almost 2 days ago. So and as you can understand, I'm in this panel accidentally. So I don't think that you asked the best person for this question. I'm really sorry, but I don't know, maybe...
Not at all, no.
Okay.
We'll move on to Beatrice. Maybe you can start us off.
Well, the thing is that we have just started and we just gone through this call for ideas, and we are now working in this collaboration agreement signed. So from my point of view, I think that the preliminary market consultation will be not, I hope it won't, but in certain technologies with lot of market operators, the preliminary market consultation maybe will be a hard step. I mean, it's not, but maybe there are some panelists that have more experience than me in these cases. But CTTI will work with so many different technologies that we want to go in all the procedures, in all the phases, keeping the same times. And I think that we won't be able to do this because preliminary market consultation is not the same for buying a plane, as an example, than for buying technologies for water treatment. So this, for us, would be a bottleneck.
Yes, Andreas, I mean, what's the main bottleneck that you've come up against, and what do you think has really worked and that you would kind of recommend as a step for the others in the room thinking of doing a similar process?
So, first of all, how to say, make learning some courses for potential suppliers that they understand where they are going. Because, for example, we struggled 2 times in 2 phases with a contract signing, because we're working with such a global companies like IBM and Deloitte, and they had huge legal requirements for our contracts, and they are including the bullet points that other companies do not accept. And signing contract to the first phase, we made 3 months. We were aligning the contract, which cost a huge, how to say, misunderstanding, missing in the timeline. So this was the bottleneck. And also, it is required much more effort for the procurement body, because you are working parallel with, in our case, 4 companies. And these companies, because they do not have a clear requirements, you need to escalate them what the hypothesis, what you would like to have, but not what they need to do, because it is research and development, so they should think and they should do research and suggest the best solution for you. So this required much more effort from our side than we thought initially. So this is our.
Thank you. And Hannu, you've obviously got a lot of practical experience, and you've already presented the slides to us earlier, but if you could boil all that down to one key challenge and solution that you could impart on everyone today, what would that be?
Well, today when I left from the hotel, I saw this young man driving in a car. They're training to learn how to drive a car. My question is, why don't they teach him that in the classroom? The teacher talks and he sits down and learns how to drive a car. No, it doesn't work that way. And I think innovative public procurement is also the same way. I cannot teach you how to do it by talking. Mm-hmm. You need to start doing. And the first one probably doesn't go perfectly. And what's the worst thing that can happen? You didn't have a solution, it failed, so you still don't have a solution. So, and the best case, it can work. So I think that is my kind of key thing. And if I can give you one hint, start with something that is really, really important to you. Some strategic need you have. Start with the biggest one you can think of. Don't try to start small, because you won't get results that are financially interesting. So go big and start doing. I guess that's it.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you. And Iris and Elias, I mean, you've already started doing, so how's your experience of that? What's the challenge been, and how are you overcoming that?
The challenge for ours was to make the manufacturers interested in our needs to build a pilot project, so the pilot bus prototype, and we didn't have any money, so we didn't pay them, so that was the case.
But you didn't let it stop you, so that's something. All right. And finally, Emanuela, if you could...
Yes, in my case, I will start with the beginning. First of all, the risk aversion of our public authorities is quite high. So instead starting new projects, new innovative projects, they prefer to do nothing. But when they start, other issues appear, like, I don't know, bureaucracy, high bureaucracy for preparing the papers required. But at the same time, it's about specification required for such type of projects, because the employees from the public authorities are not so knowledgeable when it comes about preparing specification. And usually they avoid requesting, I don't know, support from companies, small companies or innovative companies. But I hope all this could be, I don't know, solved in time. And pain points that our citizens are, I don't know, having right now to be solved by public authorities as is needed by them. So R3, yeah, risk aversion, bureaucracy, and specification part.
Great, thanks, and a great summary there. I think those challenges will be familiar to a lot of us. I mean, innovation procurement is challenging. I don't think anyone's pretending it's not, but that is why we have competence centres, which we'll hear more about this afternoon, and how we're spreading that network. And we have our trailblazers who are getting on and doing it and showing the potential of innovation procurement. I want to give a massive thank you to our panelists today. I'm sure they'll be open to you coming up and asking any remaining questions over lunch, and hopefully we'll be here this afternoon as well to add. So if everyone could just join me in a round of applause for the panelists, that would be great.